Good Friday morning. This is the Great Basin prescribed fire and overall weather briefing for Halloween, October 31st. Lots of prescribed burning ongoing across parts of the Boise and Payette National Forest and a little bit in the Salmon Chalice, I believe, or maybe that's the northeast corner of the Boise. Um, some small spot fires, 1 acre or less, where you see the red circles. Otherwise, purple indicates the prescribed burning areas that are currently ongoing. It's been a dry 7 days across much of the southern half of the geographic area. You can see the percent of normal near 0%, but there is a wedge of moisture across the northern tier of Nevada, also across parts of the central Idaho mountains. You can see it on the left-hand side. The light to dark greens indicates a ½ inch to an inch of rain. Yellows, an inch and a half of precipitation over the course of the 7 day period. Of course, in higher elevations, that's in the form of snow. Now, in the past couple of weeks, it has been quite dry across the southern Sierra front into parts of the southern half of Nevada. You see that flash drought deficit. We have a moistening trend where we had that precipitation in the northern part of Nevada to southern Idaho. You can see where the short-term drought is really accentuated across parts of Texas. Now, we also have some snow. You see the snow cover starting to expand in a little bit of coverage, not just on the peaks here in the central Idaho mountains, but getting down into the mid-slopes, maybe even some of the canyon bottoms, where the canyon bottoms are near 5,000 feet. We see a similar trend in eastern Idaho and western Wyoming, but further down south, just covering the highest peaks of the Uinta Wasatch in northern Utah. Now, over the past 24 hours, we did have a few inches of snow, but well up to our north. Now, looking at current fuels, actually these are 100-hour fuels, not ERCs, so the lower the number here, the drier it is. And you can see that up here where we're doing our burning in the Payette, it was fairly moist, but it's starting to dry out. This is where it currently is. This is where it's expected to be in a few days. Of particular concern is the Sierra front, both northern and southern. We see that over the course of the next few days, 100-hour fuels, which are near normal right now, they haven't had much rain in the past several days, are expected to drop down quite precipitously, very close to midsummer levels. So the concern is if we get a strong downslope wind event, a Washoe Zephyr off the Sierra front, there could be some concerns, and there's a potential that a little bit possibly towards the middle of next week. We'll keep watching that. Satellite imagery shows mainly clear skies across most areas. Some clouds moving over the ridge into the Pacific Northwest, but you can see there's fairly thin cloud cover through here, not precip producing. And later on today, we see some of those clouds up north could possibly thicken up into parts of northern and maybe in the central Idaho mountains, but otherwise dry, kind of a northerly flow, so still a little bit on the cool side. Ventilation index under this high pressure, not very good. The areas in red are fairly poor dispersion, so visibility may be reduced a little bit. Smoke may not disperse that well. Combination here at the surface, the winds are fairly light. You see the humidity near 10% down in southern areas, 20 to 30% in central areas, and getting up to near 40 in the north. The vertical mixing also in western Nevada, very poor, barely getting up to maybe 1,500 or 2,500 feet, a little bit better across the eastern areas. The high pressure builds over much of the Great Basin on Sunday. Some clouds, but most of the showers will, to the north will remain up in northern Idaho. You can see the ventilation index, again, poor dispersion covering most of the area. We see the winds fairly light in southern central areas, and even up north, maybe 5 to 10 mile an hour winds. Same story in the humidity, low teens in the south, 20s to low 30s in the north. So some of the northern areas may even dry out a little bit. And surface winds, transport winds fairly light in southern central areas, starting to pick up just off to our northwest ahead of this next storm system coming in. Vertical mixing, nothing really to write home about, just maybe 1,000 to 2,000 feet in most areas. And the yellows here maybe getting up to 3,000 feet in a few spots. Broad high pressure covers much of the area, fairly dry as we go into Sunday. Again, fairly poor air quality, light surface winds. Similar story on the humidity. Transport winds starting to pick up a little bit, but I mean not much, maybe 5 to 15 miles an hour in most areas, maybe a little bit higher in the Snake River Plain and in the higher terrain of western Wyoming. Again, vertical mixing not great. High temperatures today compared to Sunday. There will be a bit of a cool down on Sunday in the northern areas, but you can see a warm up a little bit across some areas by a few degrees in Reno, for example, and even up in in parts of Utah. There could be about a 4 to 6 degree warm up as we go into the latter part of the weekend. Not much precip days 1 to 3. Looking at Monday, another storm system approaching, but before we get that, we start seeing the winds picking up a little bit, kind of a southwest flow, kind of moderate on Monday, but it could be some downslope component into the off the Sierra front, and that's something worth watching because it's been so dry there for the last 7 to 12 days, and the 100-hour fuels have really gotten worse. You see the dispersion with those increasing winds will start to improve. Now, this storm system gathers a lot of moisture. Most of it's offshore or to our west, but northern Nevada, again, which got hit pretty good last week, could see another band of moisture coming through there, but drier from I-80 on southwards. And this is where we'd have to watch a bit of a washout zephyr. Sometimes you get this just out of the precipitation producing front. You get these downslope winds, and even though you have high clouds, you can have humidity driving down into the low teens. You can have winds of 30, 40 miles an hour, and it only takes a spark to set off a fire that can move very rapidly in those conditions. But the models do forecast moisture spilling over the Sierra front into parts of northern and central Nevada on Wednesday. That will raise humidity and maybe bring some locally moderate precipitation, maybe some snows for the Sierra. Then that front goes into the eastern Great Basin for much of Idaho, Wyoming, and northern Utah. Drier conditions, but southern Nevada, Arizona Strip, southern Utah, they stay dry and breezy throughout. So the fuels there are going to be continuously drying out through the 7-day period, and we'll have to watch for some gusty winds during those time periods so nothing gets out of hand in the dormant brush. Days 4 or 5 precip, this will be early Tuesday morning to early Thursday morning, and then early Thursday morning through early Saturday morning. You see some of that precipitation going into the Sierra and spilling over into Nevada and northern Utah. This is our 7-day total, and the long-term 8 to 14 the outlook. Warmer than normal, drier than normal for most areas, except for maybe some light precipitation chances in the far north. This concludes our briefing. We'll talk to you again on Monday.